Over the next few weeks, I'm going to take you through an exploration of your foot and ankle. What this can be is it can be another layer that we can address and take a slight detour into to help us get that much more out of our other hip strengthening exercises and lower body strengthening exercises. We can think about our foundation as being our hips and our pelvis and our core here, but then we can also think of our foundation as being our foot and ankle. The two end up playing off of each other. So compensation patterns up here can affect the foot. Compensation patterns at the foot can affect up here with it. This way we can kind of peel back the layers a little bit and see, okay, in a bigger move, what is actually the contributing force behind it? And it can be where it can be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And sometimes you might just need a little more dosage on one thing and then the other thing will kind of come along. So let's first look at some single leg stance and see what happens when we go to stand on one leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and stand on one leg, picking that other leg up, and I'm going to see what I feel. So I'll run you through things to kind of assess as you're going onto that leg. A lot of times when people go to stand on one leg, if they're wobbly at all, they might just say, oh, I don't have very good balance. But the question is, what do you mean by that? Does that mean you don't have very good stability? And if it does mean that, which most likely it does, it's a question of then, okay, what's then contributing to that lack of stability with it? A lot of times, just like anywhere in our joint, our muscles want to be able to have full engagement of fully lengthening and fully contracting so that we're better able to find mid-ground and that we have good stability of our muscle activation on all sides of our joint to help it be able to find center a little bit better. So first, looking at the foot, when we go to stand on this leg, we're going to think about that tripod. So the base of your foot, a base of your big toe, base of your pinky toe, and the base of your heel. So as I go to stand on that leg, do I keep that balance between those 3 points? Or do I tend to shift more to one side, shift more to the other, shift more forward, or shift more back? The other thing we can look at here is our arch. Everyone's going to have different shapes of arches, and it's about how it functions dynamically and then also how it functions when we go to put more load onto it. So as I'm here, I'm looking at my arch, and if I go to pick that other leg up, is my arch able to maintain that same height, or does it tend to collapse in, or does it tend to roll out? If it tends to collapse or roll out, that might indicate some weakness there. And again, we'll peel back the layers of to what's contributing to that weakness. Is it more of just a freedom of movement thing or muscle activation or engagement and strengthening for it? We're also looking at what are our toes doing? Is that big toe driving in? Are those toes scrunching? Again, trying to kind of fake that stability through other means to be able to hold that position. We can then look at the front of our ankles, and we're looking at this anterior tib here. So when I go to stand on one leg, does that anterior tib stay nice and relaxed? Or is it gonna pop open or pop up and over-engage there, which can have an effect all the way up the rest of the chain. Then we're gonna look at what happens in your knee. So as I go stand here, does that knee go to spin in, or does it stay pointed straight ahead? A lot of times the knee can be affected more so by what's happening at the hip and what's happening in the foot than necessarily the knee itself to blame for it. And then we can look at the hip. I'm going to put my hand on the front of my hip, and as I go to stand on this leg, does that front hip muscle, that TFL, stay nice and relaxed, or does it pop out? If it pops out, that could mean that we're compensating here for maybe some glute med weakness, maybe. It could also be, are we clenching in our glutes and kind of shoving that femur forward and creating that tension there? Does that have that tendency to kind of lean back into it? Does your pelvis tend to fall into more of that anterior pelvic tilt, which will put that hip flexor on tension here with it? We can also look at, okay, when I go to do this, if I go to stand on that leg, does my other hip drop and this hip hike? That's definitely some glute med weakness there. Another way that your glute med would show up as being weak is you go to stand on that leg and your upper body leans over using that QL to try to stabilize you with it. So we're looking at all those various things as just kind of a piece of the puzzle that could be contributing to our symptoms that we're having. We can also look at what do you feel in your pelvic floor. So when we go to stand on that leg, do you feel pelvic floor congestion or tightness or clenching when you go to there? Or does everything feel okay? Again, if when you go to stand on that leg and you feel some congestion, there's another layer that we need to peel back. That's telling me something happening in my hip or in my foot is affecting how my pelvic floor feels. So just kind of taking that time to body scan today, taking note of what you feel, no judgment one way or the other, but just kind of scanning through, and then we'll move forward in these next few weeks, going through various drills to see then, as we come back into the single leg stance or to more dynamic movements, oh, how did that affect that? Did that help make it easier to make it happen versus just stand better, don't let that fire, just make it happen kind of a thing with it and set our body up for success.